giving him a hard time because there was, we had like our sort of entire Devotion press tour. And then I had like the press tour for my dad, where, I went to Plano, Texas, where they now live. And I would have to do I did like screenings like every night for a week for him.
Thank you so much for taking time to chat about Devotion specifically. That's what we're here to talk about. God, what an incredible historical action film drama. I mean, it's so much in one.
Oh, thanks, man.
I mean, you hit so many incredible notes.
It's it was always sort of my dream to make something that sort of felt like those big 90s dramas that sort of like really got me into movies, and we would joke all the time that we wanted it to be more Shawshank Redemption than like war film. And obviously that sort of lives by centering the film on Jesse and Tom. But yeah, it's like, it just reminds me of those types of movies where like the scope is big, but the feelings are big too. And that was, such a fun thing to try to figure out.
It does, man. When you said the Shawshank, like I've just had this wave of realization, like, oh my God, I see that now. Like, I get it. Like it all makes sense. And one of the things that I realized in my research and reading lots of stuff about it, and knowing that your father, you grew up naval military brat, and Glenn did as well, was military, and then Jonathan also. See. It was like all three. I had no clue. And so the question that's been rolling around in my head is, do you think that you could have made this picture without that, without them having the backgrounds that they have and the three of you coming together? I mean, could you have executed this the same way?
Definitely couldn't have done it the same way, but no matter what you work on, you try to find a piece of yourself in it, and I think with Devotion specifically, I've never had access to this much self to put in it, just by way of, the familial component. But it's like, that's what you use and what you mine for some sense of authenticity, and not just the sort of like technical stuff, but where it was most helpful for me to have my parents around in this process was, not necessarily asking my dad about like the radio call on, bombing runs or anything like that. I mean, it was asking him, how hard it was to tell mom about your first deployment coming up, and what were those conversations like, and what did it feel like, and ask her the same thing. And, that's the stuff that sort of, fills the space between the lines a little bit. So, look, I'm many a filmmaker who has no relationship to, service members make movies. But I think there's just there's a lacquer that I got to apply, by way of just having these folks in my world.
I think it really shows. And one thing that I also thought of is, I know you've talked a lot about how your dad got to be part of the filmmaking process, be on set with you, and all that good stuff. And I'm curious, what has it been like in the aftermath for him? Is he just like the star of his community now? Like,
he was already cooler than me by way of being a Blue Angel, and I am but a filmmaker. But, I mean, I was giving him a hard time because there was, we had like our sort of entire Devotion press tour. And then I had like the press tour for my dad, where, I went to Plano, Texas, where they now live. And I would have to do I did like screenings like every night for a week for him, and he's like, oh, this is this group, and like, these are my friends from blah, blah, blah. And so, no, he put me to work, man. But he's, he is now, the unofficial mayor of a few of his communities.
I can understand that. I mean, big Hollywood dad now.
Yeah, come on.
Were there any sequences that for you were most sort of rewarding to capture, to kind of finish. Like you film it, you shoot it, and by the end you're just like, oh, I'm so glad we hit that exactly the way we did.
Yeah, I mean, it really is two moments in the film to me, and they're quite different. But Jesse in the mirror, when he's sort of pulling up the experience he's been on so far, and kind of delivers it to himself, and by way of that to the audience, that to me and to Jonathan was always going to be this sort of tipping point where the audience understands like the cost of his journey so far, and modulating that and throttling that exactly in the way that would be most meaningful was it wasn't even that I was worried about it, because like in Jonathan's hands, like it's gonna be good, but it's still you don't know really what it's going to feel like until you're watching it performed. So I think when we wrapped that day up, there was that, to your point, that kind of relief. And then, technically one of the more difficult things in the movie was Tom's crash, and figuring that out as a oneer, stitching between, a real aerial element, that seamlessly transitions into, a motion controlled rig on an LED volume, which seamlessly stitches to a practical crash rig on a snow set, and finding the ways to hopefully smoothly transition from all three of those parts of production, and was really one of the last shots delivered in the film. So it's like, spending every moment until basically the premiere being like, is that one going to work? A little nerve wracking, but yeah, so that the sort of emotional thing with Jesse in the mirror. And then, yeah, I think the sort of technical thing with Tom and his crash.
Yeah, those are definitely two moments that leave an impression on you. I know that Jesse in the mirror was a moment that I felt like I was paying attention to the movie, but then I was like really paying attention to the movie.
No, I get
what
that.
I mean? Like it really changed the way that I visioned, and the way that you capture perspective going from Tom in the air to the ground in that scene, and how slow moving everything feels to it goes into like utter chaos once he hits the ground. I was just like, this is such brilliant perspective and juxtaposition. I loved that so much. It was one of the most I think exciting moments for me, but the whole story is really good. The conversation between Tom and Commander Savoli, that moment was really impactful, I felt, because I feel like you kind of sum the movie up a bit in that conversation, where he's saying like, it's not just this, it's
all of it. Totally.
Just brilliant, man. I'm sorry. I supposed to be an interview, and I'm just sitting here, just Chris Farley show, and you're just like, when you made Devotion, that was awesome. JD, thank you for taking time to chat today. I really, really appreciate it. Devotion it's out now. Everybody, you can get. I've got my 14 right here. Right,
there you go. Physical media.
Yeah, I got it. You got to have it, man. It's important. JD, thank you for taking time to chat today, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Good to chat.